minutes, we'll just give some time for additional audience to come. Thank you very much for your patience. All right, very good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Gosla, and I'm with the International Food Policy Research Institute. It's my privilege to welcome you to this session, Thematic Session 3B, Harnessing Social Protection to Improve Dietary and Nutrition Outcomes. And we're running 5 minutes behind, so without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our session chairs for today. Haile Abera is head of program at the UN World Food Program in Nepal, with over 12 years at WFP, leading efforts in food security, nutrition, and climate-smart agriculture. He holds an MSc in International Development from Lund University. And please give him a round of applause. Thank you very much for joining us. And our second chair is Anthony Wen. He leads work on social protection and reaching the very poor at the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, or GAIN, where he oversees GAIN's efforts to make healthy diets more accessible to consumers experiencing multidimensional poverty and vulnerability. And if you joined yesterday's learning session in Carnally Hall, then Anthony is not new to you. Please give him a warm welcome. And please, over to you. Thank you very much for chairing this session.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to this session. We're so thrilled that you are joining us for this exciting conversation on how social protection systems can play an important role in driving positive change for diets and nutrition. As many of you, I'm sure, can appreciate, the cost of a healthy diet is rising, and many households cannot attain a diet that is adequately nutrient dense. And the reasons for this are many, and we've learned about many of those reasons already in this conference. Indeed, the keynote presentation we've just heard highlighted the insidious relationship between poverty and malnutrition. And the headline here is really that there's an ongoing, urgent affordability crisis. And this is consistently constraining progress for many countries toward achieving their goals to alleviate malnutrition. And social protection systems are really crucial for breaking the cycle that keeps people in poverty and vulnerability. In South Asia alone, as many of you are aware, there is a constellation of social protection programs that target people experiencing poverty and vulnerability, and these programs have had a positive impact on the trajectory of food and nutrition security in South Asia. But despite this impressive progress, to date, there's still people that are left behind or left out of these systems. And all social protection really has the potential to impact nutrition, but we've learned over and over again that that impact is not automatic, and that there needs to be a certain amount of intention and effort to prioritize nutrition on the social protection agenda. When nutrition issues sit in a cacophony of competing priorities that are all deserving of attention. So today's speakers will try and shine a bright light on some of the key issues that we are experiencing in thinking about social protection as a way to improve nutrition and dietary outcomes. And I'll now give the floor to my co-chair Haile to talk us through the session presentations and to orient us to the common threads that unite these interesting talks.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, everyone, colleagues, participants here and participants online. It's really good to have you here. And as Anthony has tried to set the scene, two major topics: impact at scale and systems, especially when we talk about systems, government-led systems. So for the sake of this session, we will be talking about social protection systems. So for this thematic session, we will be talking about harnessing social protection for improving diets and nutrition. And we have 5 speakers, a very diverse set of topics in terms of the thematic areas, from market-based solutions to cash transfers to public works to fortification and to evidence-based planning. And in terms of organizational presentations, we have from international organizations and from universities and governments. So we will just run them through in a sequence. I will now invite the first presenter, Bhavesh Hazarika, from the 16th Finance Commission, Government of India. Just a reminder for everyone that you will have 10 minutes, and we want you to mind the screen that you have 10 minutes and then follow the timer. And then to the audience, that after the 5 presentations, we will have a session for question and answers. So keep your questions for later, and then we'll take questions in rounds. So thank you, and over to the first speaker.
Thank you, everyone. Today, I'll be. Today, I'll be speaking on an issue which lies within the social protection and nutrition policies in India. So the broader questions that we are going to ask here is whether the cash transfers by themselves enough in terms of translating into better nutritional and health outcomes. We have tried to address these questions by addressing one of the cash transfer programs running by government of Madhya Pradesh, especially for the lower income group, where we'll be trying to see whether cash transfer alone is working enough. So the basic results that we are getting from our study, it reveals a nuanced reality is that cash transfer, it increases the access, but the nutrition pathway that remains incomplete. Before delving into the specific issues related to our program, let's highlight a bit of the debate between what we need to have, whether we should have a cash or maybe we have an in-kind transfer. As we know that the choice between these two particular design is mostly because of the system design, and which is basically defined by a couple of parameters like the program objectives, market functionality, and the beneficiary agencies. If we look at the cash transfer, then obviously, if we see in the recent trend, then globally it has been uh, preferred because of it increases the autonomy, the household autonomies, as it allows the households to optimize their spending behavior, which as per their preferences. At the same time, also it uh, reduces the government's cost in terms of delivery and also the administrative cost. But at the same time, we also know that there's a bit of issues in terms of cash transfer because cash is fungible, and we often see cases get diverted from their basic objective to meet some of the other essentials expenditure at the household levels. If we look at the in-kind transfer also, it has the other dimensions. It guarantees a certain level of nutrition intake, but again, there's also issues in terms of uh, problem or challenges like the supply chain issues, delayed delivery, or maybe the quality issues. So what the general literature also says, and also we are also confirming, is that uh, a mix of both these two approaches is often outperform than the single modalities. Now coming back to our program, the MMSSPSY, which is this is basically a program run by National Health Mission Madhya Pradesh, where they are giving rupees 16,000 to lactating mothers in two installments. First installment is 4,000, and then the second installment is 12,000. So a total of 16,000 is given. So basic intuition is that give additional income to the households, and it should automatically, or it should lead to a better nutritional and health outcomes at the household levels. But again, literature also shows that cash transfer, it increases the excess, but again, it has issues, or it may lead to better consumption, food consumption, but not at all related to nutrition. If we see in general level, the anemia level at Madhya Pradesh, we have found it's very, very high. It's one of the highest in the country. And we also see the dietary diversity at the Madhya Pradesh in specific. It's a bit remain lower. So it basically remains leads to questions like, what should be the design? What should be should be it be cash transfer, or in kind, or a mix of both these two? This leads to a kind of aspect that is what we call as nutrition paradox. We have gone to field collecting data from 1,500 lactating mothers, both who are getting the scheme benefits as well as who are not getting the benefit of the schemes. So out of the samples, what we have found that around 76% of the lactating mothers, they are still very, very high anemic. In terms of the other parameters like stunting, the child stunting, wasting, and others, we have also not found a significant improvement among the beneficiary households as compared to the control group. So uh, what we also see in terms of the plate, what they are getting. So mostly the cereals as well as the vegetables, but if we see the micronutrient rich food consumption, those are very, very limited. The consumption of egg, consumption of dairy products, those are very, very limited. So what we essentially is found that it may increase the calorie intake, but not necessarily the micronutrient-based rich food. There is also one issue in terms of the cash transfer, is that it is just a dimension to the nutrition. We also have to have changes in terms of the behavior, the norms, access, then intra-households control over the resource use. So those are equally important when we are targeting the nutritional outcomes. If we see in kind transfer, we do have ICDS. We do also have some other kind transfer. But there is always a behavioral norms, is that women, they tend to share with their other household members. And women also tend to have their meal at the last. So those are the issues that we need to address before trying to say, okay, if we give additional income, that essentially gives you nutritional benefits in database. So where actually the money is being spent. So when we collected data, we have seen that less than 1% of the women, the beneficiary, they spend on everything on the nutritious product. Then again, around more than 50%, they didn't spend anything on the nutritious product. And there is also diversion of the cash amount. The usual food, then medical needs, household goods, saving, even for debt repayment, they are using those money. And there is also one catch, because if we see the second installment, which is around 12,000, it basically attracts the attention of the household head or the male members. It's a huge amount for those who are living in the lower end of income distribution. So when they say, okay, 12,000 coming, so let's use it for some other aspect. Rather than spending on the nutrition, we'll spend in some other activities, something like that. And also, when women do not have control over the resources, that's very, very important. So that's why maybe I'll show in a later slide what exactly the women wants from this particular scheme. So the basic message is the cash transfer alone, it's not necessarily is going to get you to the nutritional pathway. So when we ask for the preferences, whether they want a cash transfer or they want to go for a nutritional kit, then we found that they do prefer for a mix of both of these two. And preference also higher in the rural areas where the market access is very, very limited. So what basically missing in the program design is that the first installment, there's also one aspect, because they are getting the money only after fulfilling the condition. And again, then the paperwork, then the verification, it takes time. So they eventually get the money after the delivery. But they should have got that money before the delivery, so that they could have used those money for the nutritional aspect during the pregnancy period. As I already told, second is very large, so it gets diverted to other activities. Then also the IEC, Information, Education and Communication. So it's very, very low in some of the backward district. So that's why even though they know we need to have nutritional aspect, but again, how to get it, how to translate it. We are getting money, but how we are going to get it. So those are the questions that remains. So policy implication, what we suggest, a hybrid model, both having a component of cash and kind transfer. Then again, break the second installment, which is 12,000, to a lower values with a more frequent time, so that when the amount becomes very less, then the household head or the male members, they are not more attentive into that, and women will enjoy the control over that resources, so they can use those money for their own perspective. So the overall okay, yeah, I'm just wrapping up. So the final thought is that the cash transfer is not going to help you enough alone. You need to have a mix of this, and you also have to have the governance issues and other things to be there in the models. With that, I conclude, and I thank NHM for funding the research, as well as the World Bank to provide funding to come here and present my things. Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I'll now invite our second presenter, Mekbib Hilegrebile Sefe. I'm very sorry for the pronunciation of your name, who's joining us from World Hunger Life, Afghanistan.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, highly Anthony and Julie. My presentation is transforming nutrition during Afghanistan lean season with innovative nutrition sensitive market-based solution in empowering vulnerable household. So this is a beautiful map of Afghanistan. Unfortunately, based on the current IFPRI malnutrition assessment, you can see the deep red around nearly 8 provinces classified under critical situations. And when you see the result, 3.7 million of children under 5 become acutely malnourished, and also 1.2 million pregnant and lactating women acutely malnourished. This is, the number is the highest in South Asia. That means overall, the country is like in highest nutrition crisis. And when you see also the project focus, what we implemented in last years, the project is emergency response to food, nutrition, water security crisis in Afghanistan. It is multi-sectoral project. Besides that, it has a specific component, fresh food e-voucher modality for preventative nutrition response, and that implemented by WHH, local vendor, and also Red Cross. We use a digital platform, Peace Humanitarian Action. And the project is funded by JFFO, German Foreign Fund Office. So we reach these green areas, Balk, Jauzan, and Kabul province, that has the highest rate of malnutrition. So when it comes to the approach of this fresh food e-voucher modality, the first and the major, the crucial activity is the fresh food market assessment. So this helps you to identify the available of fresh food on the market based on the seasonality, and also the potential local vendor, as well as the price, their capacities, even their interest also to work with this approach. So then the second step, once we identify all of the vendors, we engage the vendors, and we categorize in two slots. The first is animal source food, and the other is fruit and vegetables. So we invited the vendor, and we have a discussion with them, and based on the selected nutritious food, and also we determine the quantity. We also incentivize the vendor a little bit the price higher than the existing market price, because it is voucher, it takes time, so the vendor may not have like interest to continue, and it is like the reason why we made the incentive. And we finalized the agreement with 24 vendors for the two slots. One is the animal source food, the other like the fresh food. So, and sometimes we become very flexible because we are working with the local vendors, particularly have like registration issues, license, TIN numbers. And also we provide training on food safety, hygiene, as well as the Red Cross, the digital platform. And overall, the project participants is 1,400 families. Their children is enrolling in the clinic with Sam and mom, and also newly discharged children, including pregnant and lactating women. And nutrition literacy session is conducted, and €50 monthly voucher per household for 3 months is like provided, and they redeem their Barclay, the local vendors. And the project is like 3 months from June to August, the peak season of malnutrition in the country. So this is the digital Red Cross systems, and it has also a smart card. The smart card is looking like this. They have all of the profile of the beneficiaries, including the pictures, the amount of the money, everything. And the training also provided for the project staff, how to register, and how to putting all of the food types, the quantities, the price, and top up of the monthly top up of the monthly amount in smart card, and also there is 24/7 online support by the company. So this is the methodologies. When you see in this side, you can see all of the fresh products are selected on the availability, on the seasonality, as well as also the price. We listed down that, and the household come to like the vendor, and they redeem automatically. So especially this is very, very safe for the females, because in Afghanistan it is a big issue when it comes to the female movement. So we also at the intervention, we also do like qualitative and quantitative data collections. Based on that, you can see the key finding. Women in acceptable food consumption score categorized rose like from 21% higher than the male. That means this also works for especially for women, pregnant, lactating, and the household woman level. And when you see the poor categories drop by 67.3% for women and 70% for men. And the other interesting finding, when it is the MDD for women, dietary diabetes increased from 9.1 before the intervention, it becomes 62%. And those women does not meet the five food group in MNDD drove from 90% to 38%. Overall, about 69% of the household reported better food diversity, healthier meal and more regulars. It is household dietary diversities. And mother noticed improved health like in malnourished children and prevent benefit also. And the intervention helped especially for women. Because in Afghanistan, the woman restriction is very, very challenging. Also, women cannot go also like to receive assistance. And this also gave them like the dignity as well as also the safety for women. So the other, when you see the community voice, you can see a lot of things about the intervention. I can give you like, we gave the nutritious food the other the children in the family because there was no other food. So we designed the package, not only the malnourished children, not only the pregnant, we designed the whole families to eat household like that, to diversify food at household level and to prevent other children not to be like admitted in some or mom, even pregnant and lactating women not be malnourished. So when you see the strengths and the weakness limited fresh food availabilities during the lean season, that is very challenging to design also the package. And also few local vendors in rural areas are like available, as well as also working with a vendor that has less experience, that has also like no having like registration license, PIN numbers. When it comes to the logistics, it is very challenging. So our organization, especially thanks to like management, they are very flexible because other we are not, if we are not supporting like small holders, like vendor like this, and if you are not like very flexible, it is difficult like to empower them, also to create like access and availabilities. The other initial familiarity with a voucher system because it's a little bit new for them, especially for the participant, the vendor. Finally, we solved that one, and the internet connectivity also a little bit challenging in some area for data synchronization. The strength is it is totally improve household dietary diversities, and also better nutrition for malnourished children, and also prevent not other children to be admitted in some and mom, and also increase access and availability food, and also increase the availability of other local vendors in the remote areas. So this is one interesting thing we have seen. During the implementation and after the implementation project, we have seen local vendors become increasing in other remote areas. The other nutrition station also enables healthier food station and also protect women dignities. They only take this card, they can go to the vendor, they redeem it, done. So even they can use different times, and there is no any issue with when we come to like carrying cash or related issue. The other interesting issue in Afghanistan, the local authorities very, very challenging. They want to involve their family members, they want to like their relative in the project intervention. So this approach, they totally prevent the local authority interference. They don't know about what is going on. The female directly go to the vendor, they read them, and they come to the home. So this is very interesting. The other, when you see the implication of the scale-up, yeah, always it is good to work with the food systems, with different actors, and also it is also good to think about multi-sectoral approach because malnutrition is multidimensional, and also it is always good if you can incentivize the small-scale vendor to promote as well as to improve them, and government engagement is good. Unfortunately, we don't have a government, not recognized by national or international community. Always donor support is very important for sustainable as well as also to reach the most vulnerable household. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Makub. I will now invite the third presenter, Mihika Waklu from Karnataka Health Promotion Trust.
Thank you, Chairs. Good morning, everyone. And I'm Mihika Waklu from KHPP India. and I will be presenting about how we institutionalize the fortified wheat flour in Himachal Pradesh in the PDS system. So Himachal Pradesh, very known for its beautiful landscape, and it's a state in India on the northern region, and very famous among tourists. But unfortunately has a high level of anemia level. If you can see in the presentation that National Family Health Survey 5th of India presents that there is 53% of women and 55.4% of children are anemic in the state. And to that, the government quickly recognized that this is a public health concern. And they took a very bold decision by, integrating the fortified wheat flour in the PDS system so that it reaches to every household. Coming to that, India has a very strong regulatory system, and it clearly specifies how much standard they have laid for fortified wheat flour, that is for iron, vitamin B12 and folic acid. But there are these are the mandatory ones, but there are other micronutrients that can be voluntarily added, but these are the specific ones. And for the people who doesn't know the fortification, very quickly, the fortification is basically deliberately adding some essential micronutrients in the food to enrich their quality. So that is one thing. Now that we have got the scientific clarity, and now the question comes in, the focus should be on how do we really operationalize at this state with very difficult terrain. So we did a study, the landscape of Himachal Pradesh. The PDS system is very extensive and has a very well structured. If you can see, approximately 73 lakh population is covered through PDS system, and 19 lakh are the ration card holders. If we come to the right-hand side, there is a ration card classification where we are covering the poorest, the below poverty line, and the above poverty line. And there's a fair price shop where the wheat flour is available, the fortified wheat flour is available, and it is run by a lot many ownership types like self-help group and cooperative sectors. To make fortification sustainable, we design a systematic integrated fortification model with 5 interlinked pillars. One is that policy government ownership, that was our really backbone, where we really wanted to push at a government level. Then comes the strengthening of millers, where we build capacity, their technical knowledge, and ensuring that the quality doesn't compromise. So that is the third, that is quality assurance and quality compliance. And further, once when the process is being laid down, then we integrate it into the existing PDS system. So there has to be very smooth transition within the PDS supply chain. And lastly, why fortification? Why is it necessary? So there comes a community engagement and demand generation. Now here are our operational approach was followed by clear sequence of pathways, where we first sensitize the government through engagement, where we focus more on why fortification is important and the anemia that can be a threat to the population. And also similarly we did for the millers, but for the millers we built more capacity on technical assistance, like the mill audit was being done, the whole mill infrastructures, whether the installation of micro dosers, so all the technicalities was being focused. Then once the whole technical aspect and capacity building sensitization done, then we went on the pilot production of fortified wheat flour, where we checked that if the machinery is working in place, mixing accuracy, the dosage system. With that sample, with that production, we did a quality assurance sampling testing that it should matches with the standards. And once satisfied, then we have a launch event that scaled up through the entire state, and this was being launched by the Honorable former Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, and that shows really the political will of that state and the concern for the people. Our key milestone, if I really talk about, there are in different stages. We have been working from 2019 to 2025. So it's a long journey where the foundation phase was government roundtables, miller sensitization, cluster-based practical trainings, if you can see from 2019 May to November. And then comes the rollout stage where the first fortified wheat flour was launched in the PDS system. Then comes the expansion stage where we focus more on the fortification summit, the awareness generation. Later, we strengthened the phase by state-wise quality assurance and sample testing, and we also provided online training, technical guidance, and systematic QA/QC guidance would be provided. And lastly, the institutionalized phase where we have successfully signed a MOU with the Department Food Civil Supply Department of Himachal Pradesh as a technical partner. Very quickly, the costing component, if you can see, it only takes, the cost of fortificants per kg of wheat flour, it is hardly 10 paisa, Indian rupee. And there is a one-time equipment installation of microdoser that is 70,000 approximately to 2 lakh, 3 lakh. And there is a program cost components like training, capacity building, monitoring, quality testing, developing IC material, and supply chain integration. Very importantly, if you can see the cost of fortified wheat flour in PDN system, we are providing, the government is providing the poorest household and the below poverty line, it's just 1 rupees 20 paise and only the grinding charges. And second, if you can see above poverty line, it's 12 rupees. So that makes it, there is only a one recurring cost, that is the premix cost, and other things, it is that shows the how it is scalable model in the entire state and a very sustainable one. Our continued efforts in Himachal Pradesh didn't stop here. We did a district level refresher training for 88 mills. Trust me, it wasn't easy at all. Then we did a pre and post training assessment to assess their knowledge and also to get where we need to really emphasize. And lastly, the post training sample testing, also to see the effectiveness and ensure the quality compliance. Today, the program has reached remarkable scale. As you can see, we have reached around 1.8 million families and 7.3 million of people. And the best part is that we didn't stop during the COVID-19. The wheat flour was being distributed even during the COVID. So that's make it very special. So if you can see this is a linear efficient model will fully institutionalized, ensuring there is a sustainability and continuity. So if you can see, the Food Civil Supply Department procures the wheat flour from farmers and center agency. It is allotted to the millers and registered millers for grinding. Within the grinding process, there is a fortification, which is the last stage. It goes and packs, goes to the state agency warehouse. From there, it reaches to district level fair price shops. And lastly, PDS beneficiaries. As we move ahead, we always believe there is a scope of improvement and three priorities guide us. One is that we want to do an impact study, evaluate the improvement level and a constructive evaluation to measure the improvement. Second is we really want to strengthen the laboratories to enhance their capabilities of assessing the analysis of micronutrients. And lastly, the surveillance and monitoring, where we want to really continually improve whatever gaps comes in. So these actions will help Himachal Pradesh remain the national example and sustainable for fortification. So here are the IEC materials which we have developed and we have distributed. Here are some glimpses from the Himachal Pradesh implementation, some media coverage. And I would like to, with my sincere gratitude, I would like to thank the Food Civil Supply Department for their support throughout and making it so successful in the state and one of the example. And lastly, I would like to thank our donor, Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, and my implementing partner, Karnataka Health Promotion Trust, for this opportunity and for implementing it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mihika, for a really enlightening presentation. I'll now invite our next speaker, Pallabi Gogoi from Jawaharlal Nehru University, to give the presentation.
Hello everyone. So I'm Pallabi Gogoi from Jawaharlal Nehru University. Today I'm going to present some key findings from my PhD research, where I have evaluated the impact of a conditional cash transfer scheme on maternal and child health. So this work basically situated within the broader communication on improving the maternal and child health and nutrition in global South Asia. So especially for the labor-dependent classes, where pregnancy and childbirth often conflict with livelihood challenges. So here I am going to discuss about waste compensation scheme, which is introduced by the Assam government in October 2018. So let me begin with why Assam needs some special attention, which is a northeastern state of India. So we can see from this slide, like from the two charts, the maternal mortality rate and infant mortality rate trends in Assam as well as in India. So it can be observed that the trends for MMR and IMR both are decreasing over the years. But if we see, Assam is underperforming for both the indicators as compared to India. Now, from this table, we can see the maternal and child health status from some of the other indicators. For example, for antenatal care, postnatal care, institutional delivery, skilled birth attendant, then child immunization, stunting, wasting, and breastfeeding. So we can see in case of Assam, for most of the indicator, it underperforms as compared to India. Now, let's see why we are focusing on the tea gardens. You know, like tea garden communities is a very marginalized community which is consistently reporting poorer maternal and child health indicators compared to the rest of the districts, states of India. And those districts which are having more number of tea gardens are having and recorded the highest maternal mortality rate. Like for example, Dibrugarh, Jorhat, Tinsukia, and Golaghat, which are having highest concentration of tea gardens, recorded MMR of 404, which is almost twice that of the state average. And this community is heavily waste dependent, and here almost more than 60% of women are working population. So they basically rely on daily wages, and pregnancy related absenteeism directly impact their household needs and like survival. So what happens, they forced to work till their last stages of pregnancy and usually join work 1 week after the delivery. So this may be a reason why they're performing very bad in terms of maternal and child health indicators. Now, on this background, the government of Assam has introduced the waste compensation scheme in the tea garden areas in October 2018 in order to improve the maternal and child health and nutrition. And those women who are residing in tea garden areas and not below the age of 18 are eligible to apply for this scheme. And also, the scheme is applicable up to 2 live births only. So under this scheme, they are getting a benefit of rupees 15,000, which is increased from rupees 12,000. Like when I have done my field survey, it was 12,000. And obviously, as it is a conditional cash transfer program, so there is some conditionalities. So upon fulfillment of these conditionalities, the beneficiaries can get the installments. So for example, first installment of rupees 3,000 they can get if they register for their pregnancy in the first trimester. Then second installment they can get if they register for another ANC in their third trimester. and third installment they will get in times of institutional delivery, then the last installment of rupees 4,000 they will get in times of birth registration of the child, and completion of their first cycle of the immunization for the child. So, the objective of this study is to evaluate the effectiveness of this waste compensation scheme in improving the maternal and child health and nutrition among the tea garden women, which is a historically marginalized community. So it basically examines the direct health gains and behavioral pathways to improve, inform scalable and nutrition-sensitive policy models across South Asia. So we have used both secondary and primary data, but for the impact evaluation part, I have done a primary survey in 2 districts of Assam. Based on the concentration of tea gardens, we have selected Jorhat and Dibrugarh districts. Then like 6 tea gardens from Jorhat and 9 tea gardens from Dibrugarh are chosen randomly, and we have used a multi-stage sampling strategy. Then a list of waste compensation beneficiaries were prepared at each of the tea garden of the respective 2 selected districts with the help of the frontline health workers. Similarly, to generate a counter-sectoral, another list of non-beneficiaries were selected. Now, since this is an impact evaluation, and like we don't have data for the beneficiaries before the scheme has introduced, so we resorted to propensity score matching method. Because in impact evaluation, what we need to know what would have happened to this group of people if they were not exposed to the scheme. So using the propensity score matching method, we have generated a counterfactual group, that is control group, based on the observable characteristics of the sample. So our sample include treatment and the control group. Now this is basically showing the distribution of this propensity score across the treatment and control group. Like we can see from the green and red part that shows the common support area. So this is like almost 96%, which shows a very good thing. Like 96% sample are matched. So the larger the common support area, the greater the validity of our estimates. So this kernel density distribution also demonstrates the same thing, like the matching is good. We can see from the second figure, like after matching, both the groups are similar now. So we can now compare. I'll skip this one. This is basically from the NFHS 5. So here we are showing the inequality. This figure basically shows the pro-rich inequality across various districts of Assam, and also across various indicators of maternal and child health. So this is from NFHS 5. Sorry. Now coming to our findings from average treatment effect on the treated estimates on maternal health-seeking behaviors. So we can see the ATT estimates of receiving the waste compensation scheme benefits suggest there is a 32% increase in the probability of receiving at least one antenatal care within the first trimester for the treatment group than the control group, which is I think it's 35% for full ANC and also for full ANC. And we can see in terms of institutional delivery and skilled birth attendant, though the impact is positive and significant, but the magnitude is quite low. This may be because like some other schemes are already available, like Janani Surasta Yojana and all. Then for PNC, it is also good, like 26% increase in the treatment group as compared to the control group. Now, in terms of some nutritional outcome also, we can see like birth weight, stunting, wasting, underweight, exclusive breastfeeding, BMI. We can see some positive and significant impact of this waste compensation scheme. So So we can conclude that like this scheme, that is waste compensation scheme, is working well for this tea garden community. So we can, government can scale up to similar kind of community or some other informal sector as well. And of course this scaling up will require some collaboration from public and private participation, and also some collaboration from the labor union as well. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pallavi, for your presentation. I'll now invite the last presenter, Panakidas Vidyasagar from Vidyasagar University, for your presentation.
Good morning, chairs. Good morning, everyone. I am Pinaki from Vidyasagar University. I am presenting our research study, scaling nutrition resilience in vulnerable regions. India has experienced rapid economic growth and emerged as the fourth largest economy in the world. And the social protection benefit has also extended, and poverty sharply declined during the last decades. But a critical question remains: that nutrition insecurity declined with the progress of the economy? Our study region consists with three relatively less developed districts of the state West Bengal of India. This region is relatively vulnerable one, and this region is not very unique. It is common. So many other regions are also available across the India as well as across a number of developing countries. On the basis of systematic literature review, we have found critical gaps in this particular domain. Accordingly, our study has been formulated three specific objectives related to entitlement status and livelihood diversification, nutritional security dynamics and sustainability over time, compare nutrition outcomes of poor versus non-poor households specifically for the vulnerable groups. Let us briefly discuss the study design and the methods. Our study is based on the 3OF's longitudinal household panel of 600 households which are selected on the basis of stratified random samplings and consist with both tribal and non-tribal households. The baseline survey was conducted in the year 2012-13 and two follow-up surveys in the year 2017-18 and 21-22. Our analytical framework is grounded with Amartya Sen entitlement approach, where the failure of entitlement is the cause for the nutrition insecurity, and the failure of entitlement is due to the failure of endowment state or failure of the e-mapping, that is transformation from endowment state to entitlement state. Here we considered four alternative forms of the entitlement, that is own labor entitlement, production-based entitlement, trade-based entitlement, and transfer entitlement. This analytical framework helps us to understand the analysis in three important issues of our study, that is transfer entitlements obtained from different social protection programs, livelihood diversification, and nutritional outcome indicators. The estimation of poverty and nutrition insecurity is based on the basis of FGT methodology, where we have estimated the nutrition insecurity following the recommendation of Indian Council of Medical Research (ICMR), which is one of the co-hosts in this particular event. And as our study based on the longitudinal analysis, the problem of partition is very crucial here, that can be addressed by the inverse probability weighting and Heckman two-step selection correction. The analysis consists with entitlement mapping, livelihood diversification index, social protection index, nutritional outcomes, and dietary diversity. Let us start our result with the social protection analysis. The key findings here is that the food and housings have the highest coverage of the social protection program rather than employment and farm schemes. Equity gap still persists. ST household cluster is the lowest benefit tier, and most of the social protection benefits comes from the poverty relief scheme. Nutrition and productivity enhancing scheme contribute very little. This is the entitlement and livelihood diversification of the sample households. Here the casual labor is the significant share, major share of the employment, while the share of self-employment gradually decreases and regular employment increases marginally. the right-hand side bar diagram shows the contribution of different entitlement or different sources of livelihood on the household income in absolute term as well as in the relative terms. Here the relative importance of the farm and non-farm income is little less, and their relative share also decreased during the recent times, whereas the labor entitlement or sources of income from the labor is relatively high both in absolute as well as in the relative term. The social protection benefit also plays an important part in this respect. As regards the consumption pattern, the consumption is mostly cereal centric and depends on the PDS cereals. The consumption in respect of the pulses, milk and fruits are relatively little less, and their share also gradually decreases over time. When we look into the nutritional insecurity status, we found the U-shaped pattern. That is, the percentage of nutrition insecure household decreased from 64% to 43% in the year 2017-18 and increased thereafter to 54%. Similar pattern also observed in case of depth of nutrition insecurity as well as severity of the nutrition insecurity. The Hegman two-step analysis is useful to analyze the important determinants of this nutrition insecurity, and this method is unique because it simultaneously analyzes whether the household is nutritionally insecure or not, and if the household is nutritionally insecure, what is the nutritional gap of that household. And here the food safety net program is not significantly explain both the nutritional insecurity as well as nutritional insecurity gaps. Our nutrition sustainability metric shows that the nutrition outcome is highly unstable. That is, in the year 2012-13, 40% households are nutritionally secure, out of which 27.7% household become secure in the year 2017-18, but 12.5% slipped into nutritionally insecure households. In the year 2017-18, 63% households are nutritionally secure, out of which 19.2% slipped into nutritionally insecure. That is, nutrition resilience is highly unstable. This quadrant framework helps us to analyze the poverty in relation to nutritional insecurity. Here we have classified the household into 4 different groups, and on the basis of the status of poverty and nutrition insecurity. The non-poor nutri-secure household group is relatively advantageous groups, and their share gradually increases over time, whereas the poor and nutri-insecure household are relatively disadvantaged group, but their share also decreases during the recent year compared to the 2012-13. But most surprisingly, the Pacific household group, that is non-poor nutri-insecure, these households are non-poor, they have sufficient purchasing power, but they are nutritionally insecure. And most surprisingly, their relative share also gradually increases during this period from 19.6% to 26.9%. And as the Indian average, in respect of in our another study, we have observed that 21% of the Indian non-poor are nutritionally insecure. And when we subdivided our total household into 2 specific groups, that is tribal and non-tribal, we have found a similar trend as observed in the aggregate level. Here the percentage share of non-poor nutrient-insecure household gradually increases over time for both tribal and non-tribal households. A significant portion of the non-poor household, irrespective of their socio-economic backgrounds, remain nutritionally insecure, revealing the persistent hidden hunger across all years. Now I come to the policy implication for strengthening nutrition resilience. It is true that the social protection program has some role, but make the social protection program must be nutrition sensitive. Reforms of PDS from cereal to diversify fortified baskets and improve ICDS continuity and THR quality, especially in the remote tribal areas, and build income pathways for dietary stability and promote non-farm skills development and micro-enterprises. Target tribal vulnerability, specifically strengthen the community nutrition literacy to promote dietary diversity, micronutrients awareness, and healthy food choices. The system partnership also needed for scaling and nutritional resilience. The convergence across different social protection programs, agriculture and health are also important to achieve the nutrition resilience. and to promote the panchayats and community platform as the convergence hubs for entitlement and local food systems monitoring, engage self-help groups, APO, tribal counseling, etc. for delivery and monitoring. The partnerships are also inevitable in respect of the government departments, community institutions, civil societies, education institutions, and our IFPRI to enhance the nutrition literacy and awareness to overcome hidden hunger and nutrition insecurity. And thank you for the generous support of this organization to participate here. I also acknowledge the funding of our research study by ICSSR, UGC, and DST for their generous support to conduct our research project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naki, for a very rich and elaborate presentation. Lots of great insights there. Can I please request another round of applause for all of our speakers today? Really excellent and diverse perspectives on this topic. We have time for a question and answer session, so I might invite all of our panelists to take a chair and organize themselves on the stage. And I'm sure you must have burning questions, so we'll take questions in rounds. Maybe first we can have 4 or 5 questions all together in the first round. So if you'd like to ask a question, please assemble near the microphones in the room. And we're looking forward to an engaging discussion. Yes, your question.
Hi, I'm Sam Scott from IFPRI. Is this working? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? There we go. Okay, Sam Scott from IFPRI. My question is on the wheat fortification presentation. It was really nice to hear about the implementation experience. Hello? Okay. Sam Scott from IFPRI. My question is for Mehika on the wheat fortification in Himachal Pradesh. Great to hear about the implementation experience there and all the steps that it took to get to where you are. So congratulations on that. When we looked at consumer expenditure survey data, we see that around 1/3 of wheat comes from PDS and 2/3 comes from the market. So I was just curious if you're thinking at all about the market avenue for distribution. And then also you mentioned, and I was happy to see, interest in impact evaluation on anemia as an outcome, but also I think it'd be interesting to think more about some operational research and looking at sort of the whole supply chain and also like demand and some of the IEC stuff that you're doing. So just thinking more about what are your research questions? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shumon Chakravarti from IFPRI. My question is on the study on tea farmers in Assam. So you use the NFHS 5 data to identify the beneficiaries. I just wasn't clear on exactly how you identified the beneficiaries because from my knowledge, the NFHS data gives a variable on whether a woman received any cash transfer from either JSY or from another government scheme. It doesn't specifically sort of point out which scheme it was. Able to identify by the amounts on who the beneficiary was, or was it identification at the district level? Just a follow-up of that, if you were able to identify beneficiaries, were you able to also see whether the profile of these beneficiaries had changed from previous rounds of data, given that now a lot more money is at play, so were more women from higher SES groups trying to access these schemes now? In which case, was there an improvement in their wealth status and education, which might also explain some of the improvements in their health outcomes? So just wondering if you looked at any of these. Thanks.
Gabriel Babcock from WFP. I have a question for Mehika again. Yeah, it was very just want to know if there's any plans or ideas to scale up to other states that also consume wheat in high proportions, and if there's any learning that will be shared through your project.
I am Priyanka Saha, and my question is also for this regarding wheat fortification program. So, since your project is in HP and we know difficult geographical terrain is there. So, apart from this PDS supply chain, are you also thinking about biofortification, because our community is very much agriculture based. So, apart from this PDS also, if we can get our outreach to farmers also, so whatever your future strategy for biofortified crops, as well as are you also thinking about connecting with ICDS for reaching out to women and also adolescent girls? So that is my question. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the questions. I'll start. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'll start with the first question, where first was 1/3 of the PDS is there and 2/3 is the open market. That is what my understanding suggests. We as a KHPT GAIN, we are working specific with the government departments at PDS level. As I have already shown the numbers, there are 7.3 million people it is reaching. But the good part is when we are engaging with 88 millers, they are also supplying at open market. So eventually at government level, this is the PDS data, but of course they are also supplying at open market, and we are specifically working at government through the government for the PDS level at wheat flour fortification and not at the open market. But I don't have the data right now, but yes, there is happening at open market level. And thank you for the suggestion which you have indicated, that operational research and demand generation. We would further would like to, research upon that particular thing, and we will look into it. Thank you for the suggestion. The second question is scale up for other states. We have actually used this model. We need to understand that, like I have mentioned in my presentation, that there has to be a political will. And same thing we have replicated in Ladakh, again a very difficult terrain, the Union Territory of Ladakh. It shares border with international borders, very difficult terrain. Half of the years you see that we are just cut off from the area because it's a dry desert. So we have implemented there in the, because Himachal was the one state, it is the first state in India to really, implement this. So we took this as an example, but we have replicated same for Ladakh, and we are looking forward to expand, of course, but there has to be a political will to it. My third question was the PDS outreach biofortification, and how if we are focusing more on ICDS, MDM. I would not talk really about the biofortification. That really comes under the something with scientific panel, but we really don't work in that sphere very for biofortification. But yes, I would like to highlight that we are working with ICDS and MDM department. But if you see the numbers, the reach, PDS has much more. It's like families, the whole families are covering it. But it is not just that we have actually in other states, we are working closely with MDM and ICDS department. So we haven't restricted ourselves to just PDS, but of course with different, we bring about other multi-stakeholders engagement with regard to fortified wheat flour. So thank you.
Thank you for the question. We have not used NFHs for identification of beneficiaries, as you say, like identification of beneficiaries is not possible for NFHs, from NFHs. We have collected a list of beneficiaries at the tea garden level with the help of the frontline workers. Actually, I have used the NFHs 5 to set the background, like to see the coverage and inequality in terms of maternal and child health indicators. And we have found a pro-rich inequality across the districts, and also in terms of indicators like pro-rich inequality as well. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question from WFP colleagues. Actually, I want to acknowledge WFP. I'm originally from Ethiopia, and I hit the fresh food in Ethiopia almost 6 years before with WFP. So when it comes to Afghanistan, I little bit add innovative idea with the background of market system and also using the technology. So when you see the scale up, yes, fortunately we have the new project funded by BNZ. They are also interested to scale up this activity, and we're also plan like to reach more beneficiaries, because now the donors they already like trusted the system, and also they saw the result. This is one thing, particularly when it comes to female. It is ideal for female in Afghanistan that has a lot of restriction of movement for female. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Now, I think we'll move on to a second round of questions.
Hi, my question is to two presenters, one from India and Afghanistan, on the cash transfers or in-kind transfers. So I do understand the challenges in program implementation, but would specifically would like to know what efforts were taken to ensure that it reaches the beneficiaries to whom it is meant to reach.
Hello, everybody. My name is Iqbal Kabir. I'm ex-World Bank and UN staff, now currently supporting government of Bangladesh in different aspects. Thanks to all 5 presenters, wonderful presenters, and you have shown what we wanted to see. Basically, that social protection has the potential to address the underlying causes of malnutrition, the basic causes, either in income poverty or food poverty. You have shown all the 5 presentations. So that's the beauty of it. And if you look at the social protection program, especially I'm giving the example from my own country and my own work. Recently what we have done, we have reviewed, there are 140 social protection programs exist in Bangladesh, and almost covering 13% of the total budget of the government, and more than 3% of the total GDP of the country. So it has the potential, it has the reach, and also it has a good coverage with all the pitfalls and problems with the coverage. Now, what we have found, in our review, to look at from the nutrition lens, from the nutrition sensitivity lens, out of 140, we have found 22 projects are really either they have the nutrition objectives or nutrition targets or nutrition in their project design, but also they have the potentials, and they can cover 70% of the total safety net beneficiaries with this 22 project, and also with the less than 30% of the total safety net budget, meaning that those nutrition sensitive social protection program has big coverage with less amount of money if we can use them properly. Now, whole theme of this conference is taking the scale, and since the social protection has the high sort of potential to reach to the poor, which is the basic causes of malnutrition, how we really in each country can look our existing social protection program with the nutrition lens and make them nutrition sensitive. The last point of mine is recently in the this Nutrition for Growth Summit, we have agreed on 9 commitments. And one of the commitments is to address this 22 social protection program to address the basic causes of malnutrition. Just to share my sort of what you call experience. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that perspective.
Yeah,
Yes, another question.
Yeah, I have a question for Bhavesh. It's good to see the findings which was spread across for cash and in-kind transfers.
I want to ask if you could also explore the behavior change lens, because the nutrition counseling and the SPCC strategy is also important. People should know what they have to do with cash or in-kind transfer.
Okay, over to you, panelists, to respond to these questions.
Okay, thank you for the excellent question about to reach the right beneficiaries. Actually, that's really the challenge working like in Afghanistan. Because as I mentioned, the local authority want to urge their family, relative, as well as because the need is very, very high. So as a WHH, particularly when it comes to this project, we need a certificate from the family, either the children enrolling in the clinic with some or mom, or either newly discharged. This is one of the things, like he gave us like the advantage, and we receive this information from nutrition cluster, we receive from like the nearby clinic. This is also good opportunity, and also to check house to house, like pregnant lactating women with our female dominator disease, to see the right of to select the right beneficiary, and also when it comes to the assistance in the card, all of the profile is there. Besides that, during when they come to like redeeming their card or the smart card, the household should like bring their certificate of their child discharging or their child like enrolling in the clinical treatment. So that gives us, we address the right beneficiaries. Besides that, also we have strong follow-up from our team as much as possible. And when you choose agreement, what we did with the vendor, it is high levels. Because we incentivize the vendors, we can say like 10% or 20% more than the existing market price. And if you find something, we totally like canceling all of the transactions. So this is some of the points. Other also the checking the digital system. I can control all of the transactions with my mobile, wherever I am. So even I can check, I can call to my like technical team at the ground level why this household not redeem the card. How these are household redeem like 2 times per day the card. This is, I can control everything. An expert. So this helps us as much as possible, like to target the right beneficiary and also to provide the assistance to the right person. But overall, to be honest, it is a big challenge. Thank you so much.
Going back to the first question on targeting the right beneficiaries, so it has been a tricky in India specific. If you see, I have been evaluating a couple of government programs who are targeting the household at the lower end of income distributions, but there's been always inclusion and exclusion errors. So government at the upper level, they can't do that unless the village level or the ground level functionaries, they are basically trained up, or they are basically knowledgeable how to check the parameters. So we had the SCCC list, so back in 12, and based on that, couple of programs has been devised to reach the beneficiaries. And in terms of my own program, the MMS PSY, which is run by the NHM Madhya Pradesh, that was targeted to the casual laborers, and they have to register themselves with the labor departments, and they should get a Shramik ID. But again, there are also issues in terms of who gets the Shramik IDs. So there is influences and all those stuff. But government is trying hard to figure out what parameters should be taken care of, and how should the inclusion errors should be avoided, as well as those who are left behind, they have to be included into program designs. In case of take-home ration or the ready-to-eat programs, which is basically have under ICDS programs, Madhya Pradesh, they started with tracking digitally, especially for take-home rations. But the administrative cost was very, very high, and there's also system issues. That's how they have to stop it. But nevertheless, now they are trying some innovation. I'm not aware what the latest numbers are, what the latest strategies are, but they are doing something on that. And the second point on looking at the behavioral aspect, I did that project at that's a cross-sectional one, and we did at around 2021 during the second outbreak of COVID. To get into know what exactly the behavioral changes, we need to have maybe a couple of more rounds of evaluation or more rounds of assessment, how the things will basically going to change over period of time. But this is very, very important as because I have already discussed during my presentation also. If you are just expanding the income, that not going to help you. You have to have the information, then education and communication counseling, which essentially have to be there to change the behavioral nudges. That's very, very important. And more importantly, for in Indian settings, you need to have some sort of changes in the agencies. We have to give more power to women so that they could enjoy themselves, the control over the resources, where they want to spend the money that they are getting from the government.
Just one observation, as you rightly pointed out, the experience of Bangladesh. Actually, this is the perhaps the common scenario across all developing countries. In India also, so many programs are there, and the social protection programs also able to reduce the poverty at a certain level. As we also noticed in our study that a significant portion of the non-poor household, that means they are non-poor, they have sufficient purchasing power, but they are not able to select appropriate food basket to overcome the nutrition insecurity. And most of the social protection program are mainly targeted to reduce the poverty, and they are not focused so much for the reduction of the nutrition insecurity. That is the main issue to overcome the nutrition insecurity in a large country like India. Economically, the country is progress is very satisfactory, but when we consider the nutritional outcome, the progress is not very satisfactory. The main reason is the social protection program are not targeted to the reduction of the nutrition and insecurity. That is my complimented.
So I would like to thank all the presenters and request you to give them a big round of applause. And we would like to take 2 to 3 minutes. We don't want to stand between you and the delicious lunch that is awaiting. But just to put everything into perspective, today there are more people that are covered by social protection than any time in history. So I was just reading one evidence which says 4.7 billion people have been covered with some form of social protection in the last 10 years. And yet, more than 2 billion people in low and middle income countries are without any form or inadequate social protection these days. And to put that into perspective, 423 million people in South Asia, 341 million in East Asia and the Pacific, and 827 million people in Sub-Saharan Africa. So from the presentation, from the 5 presentations, you have seen that social protection provides through food or cash transfers, through nutrition education, facilitating access to health services, and improved care practices, provides some form of social protection. And on the other hand, we also have the means and the tools from what you saw through the evidence that will enable us to solve the different triple burdens of malnutrition, stunting, wasting, and micronutrient deficiency. So we put the government into perspective and we use social protection as a leverage to improve dietary and nutrition outcomes. With this, I will now hand over to Anthony, if you have any last words. Apart from that, a big thank you from myself to the people that have attended the sessions and to all the presenters. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't think I could summarize any better than Haile has already done, but I was listening so intently to these excellent presentations, and there are a couple things that I really took away from it, and I think we can all take away about the importance of nutrition, sensitive social protection for advancing our agenda. The first thing that I'd like to highlight is sensitivity. We learned so much from these presentations about how the design matters, and something that I took away from these presentations is that it's not only about the benefits, but how they link to the nutritional needs of the beneficiaries and also the lived realities that they're facing. The second thing that I took out of these presentations was the importance of choice, of agency, and of trusting beneficiaries to make decisions that are right for them, but also giving them the supportive resources they need to make positive decisions that are in their best interests. This is something that we do through conditionality, but also I think we can do more through gentle nudges, these sorts of behavioral and social change aspects that are so crucial to making social protection a driver of positive nutrition. And then the last thing that I'd say before releasing you for a delicious lunch would be opportunity. Really thinking about how social protection, when it's embedded in the context of livelihoods and income generation, can really be so essential. And we learned about that in several of these projects, which tie nutrition-sensitive benefits and services to incomes and to livelihoods. And I think that is really a key to driving nutrition through these systems. So thank you again to the wonderful presenters and to highlight to all of you for joining this conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Wonderful session. And I'm going to ask the presenters and the chairs to stay on the stage, and then we'll be handing out the certificates and ask for a photo. You're welcome to go to lunch. Afterwards, we have, starting at 1:30, Thematic Session 4A, Nourishing Spaces, Homes, Schools, and Markets. And my personal session that I'm looking forward to on digital solutions for diets and nutrition. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch.